joining. We appreciate you spending your time with us on this lovely Thursday evening. This session is being recorded, so we will send out the recording and the slides afterwards once we're done with this presentation. So if you feel like you missed anything, you'll definitely be able to get that later on. But definitely, we love these live sessions because we're able to answer your questions as well. So please submit questions to the Q&A and we'll be able to answer that as best we can. But tonight's presentation is focused on how to pay for college and really understanding the different forms of financial aid that are available to you. So I am with North Carolina State Education Assistance Authority. So my name is Tyler Dew. I'm a manager for college access with the State Education Assistance Authority. And we are the primary sponsors for CFNC, College for North Carolina. And with College for North Carolina, it is a free service where you can submit college applications. We also administer the residency determination service, which we'll get into a little bit later. You can submit transcripts for free. You have access to FAFSA resources, career exploration, and all sorts of other cool tools that we have. And we'll get into some of these a little bit later. So the big focus, especially for tonight, are the three main ways that students and families pay for college. You have different options within these three ways. We want to make sure that you fully understand what exactly you're looking at, what you can achieve, and what you can do. So before we start with that, I wanted to get into a little bit of the college costs that we talk about. We have direct costs and indirect costs. So with direct costs, that is billed and paid directly to the college. So this is things like tuition and fees, things like on-campus housing and meal plans. So anything kind of related to that is what we consider direct costs. For indirect costs, these are estimates provided by whatever college you're interested in. So you can have a clearer picture of things that you might have to budget for, right? So this could include books and supplies, off-campus housing and food, transportation, personal expenses. So we combine direct and indirect costs to talk about the overall cost of attendance. So you'll hear us and other representatives say that a lot. The overall cost of attendance for college. This is kind of what we're talking about. So the three main ways that you can pay for college and that students and families do are family funds, financial aid, and gap funding. And we're going to dive into all three of these so you kind of understand what you're looking for. Gap funding specifically is the way to close the gap when you've used all your family funds and financial aid and you still have something to pay. So going first on family funds. So family funds, pretty self-explanatory. These are income, wages, maybe a savings account, money that you have saved up either as the student or the parent, gifts from grandparents, aunts, uncles, personal loans outside of what you qualify for by submitting the FAFSA. So this might be a loan that you go and apply for at a bank. So these are some of the ways that families try to pay for college. So as you can see, parent income and savings account for a large portion on how some of the families pay for college. So if you look at these two graphs, and you look at the graph on the right that shows the percentages of the source that families pay for college, the biggest one, number 37%, is parent income. When you look at the graph on the left, you'll see the average of what costs of college might be like. So for 23-24, for that overall amount, that is the average cost, you'll see that over 10,600 was family income that is used to pay for college. So that's definitely a large portion on how families pay. So we definitely recommend looking at different options in saving for college. But you do have a lot more options if that's not sufficient, right? In terms of financial aid, 4 out of 5 full-time college students receive some form of financial aid. So in 2024, many students and families used financial aid. So some families think that financial aid is reserved for only low-income students, but that is not the case. You can see at the bottom, 80% of full-time first-year students received financial aid, 80%. So financial aid is not reserved for just low income. It helps everybody. And we'll show you the different ways you can find it. So, uh, when talking about financial aid, we really like to split up into three levels. So the first one is going to be federal. This includes things like Pell Grants, work study, which we'll get into, opportunity grants, things that you would have to submit the FAFSA for. We'll get into the free application for student aid that we call the FAFSA. We also have state aid, which is aid offered by the state of North Carolina for North Carolina residents. And it is important to submit NC residency in order to do that. And we'll go over that in a little bit as well. And then finally, you have college aid. And what you're going to find is that there is a lot of aid that these individual colleges are actually giving to students. So there is aid out there. It just depends. You got to find it on the federal level, the state level, and the college level. So when we also mention types of financial aid, we usually split them off into three types. You have scholarships and grants, which do not have to be paid back. So whenever you hear scholarship or grant, this is basically what we consider gift aid. So you do not have to pay those back for the most part. We also split it into work study. So this is aid that allows students to be considered for part-time jobs, which are usually on the college campus. And that can help pay towards college expenses like tuition, like books, and different things like that. And you also gain work experience while you do it. So that's very nice. And then finally, loans is also an option, but loans have to be paid back. So we always, always, always tell you to proceed with caution with taking out loans. Only take what you really need, so that you're not having to take a whole bunch and have to repay a whole bunch later. So, speaking of loans, we know that there is a certain amount of maybe fear about student loans, right? That's why we always say just take what you need. But the good news is that student loan usage has decreased over time. So, as we can see over the past 10 or so years, average federal loans that have been used is steadily dropping. So, this means that students and families are finding other ways to help pay for college without just relying on loans. Once again, they can be very helpful, especially if you need something to help with gap funding that I mentioned a little bit earlier. But only taking what you need goes a long way. And the fact that the usage of loans has decreased and the college attendance hopefully continues to increase, we're looking pretty good for the state of North Carolina. So speaking of the state of North Carolina, we are going to go over specific state aid that is available to you as a North Carolina resident. So in terms of in-state versus out-of-state tuition costs, this is a huge savings if you're interested in public school and community college. So as a North Carolina resident, you can qualify for in-state tuition to attend a public college or university. And as you can see in this little chart, for a public four-year in-state institution, if you have North Carolina residency, depending on the college, this number isn't specific or isn't general to all the colleges. Let's just say that the in-state tuition rate for this general college is 11,260 because you're a North Carolina resident. For an out-of-state student, it could be over $29,000. So the average in-state savings is somewhere around just under $18,000 just for being a North Carolina resident. So it is very, very important to submit the residency determination service so that you can qualify for this in-state tuition. And I do want to mention, if you are interested in private college, where there is no in-state versus out-of-state tuition, completing the residency determination service and qualifying as a North Carolina student could open you up to different state grants that are there, like the North Carolina Need-Based Scholarship for private college students. It could also qualify you for other scholarships that the institutions themselves offer. So the way to gain North Carolina residency is to complete the residency determination service, which is right here at the bottom of the screen at ncresidency.org. You can reach out to us with questions about that as well, because we do administer that. So what else I want to get into is things like early college credit, placing out of classes, and things like that. So this is a great opportunity, especially for North Carolina students, to place out of some college classes early. So with early college credit, or what we call dual enrollment, you could potentially take classes that'll transfer into a college before you even attend a college. So this could be AP classes. This could be IB classes. This could be just dual enrollment with a particular college or university where you could take a class for free while you're a high school student at a particular university. And then usually it is introductory classes, maybe intro to college writing, intro to art, things like that, that you could potentially take online or at the college and transfer that in. And that really does help you save some money. So not all colleges accept early college credit, but College Board reports that about 2,900 and counting institutions do accept this kind of credit. So even colleges outside of North Carolina, a lot of them accept this early college credit. So what you need to do as a student and parent is to check with whatever admissions office at the college that you're interested in going to make sure that they accept um, some type of early college placement, early college or dual enrollment credit. And then there are also guaranteed transfer and co-admissions programs. So many of the North Carolina colleges and universities participate in these programs. So sometimes or oftentimes they're called 2+2 programs if you haven't heard of them. And they guarantee your ability to transfer from a community college to their partner university if you meet the program requirements. And here on this screen are just some of those opportunities with those universities and colleges. So it's a program, if a program offers co-admissions and not just guaranteed transfer, co-admissions means that you are admitted to both the community college and that four-year college or university. So you have access to that campus while still a community college student. And that saves a ton of money taking classes at the community college and transferring that to a four-year school. So this is something to keep in mind if you are interested in community college, maybe receiving your associate's degree and then transferring to a four-year college. That is a great way to save money. And with North Carolina, we have all these fantastic programs for it. We also have NC Promise tuition. So through NC Promise, the state commits to making university more affordable and accessible. So this is right now four universities: Western Carolina, Fayetteville State, Elizabeth City State, and UNC Pembroke. So tuition is at about 500 a semester for North Carolina residents, and it's about 2,500 for out-of-state tuition. So if you complete that NC residency, you get that North Carolina residency determination. You could qualify for $500 and that's it, a semester for these universities. But it is important to know, and this is important for every single school that you're interested in going to, there could be and probably will be additional fees outside of tuition. Things like room and board, things like meal plans, maybe even college insurance that you might have to opt into or opt out of. So there are fees other than just tuition. So when you're reading things like this, hearing about things like that, speak with the financial aid offices at each university or college and make sure that you are understanding all the extra fees that could potentially go with it. And another scholarship that we offer for students going into the public school or community college is Next NC Scholarship. So if you look at this little graphic on the right, the Next NC Scholarship is just a combination of the Pell Grant and the state aid that we as North Carolina offer you. So we combine those two different factors and turn it into one scholarship so it makes a little bit more understandable of what you're receiving to go to college. So students who are from households making $80,000 or less will qualify, and you'll qualify for at least $3,000 a year to attend a community college. Usually that covers all tuition and fees at community college. You will also receive at least $5,000 a year to attend a UNC public institution, and that usually covers more than half tuition and fees depending on where you're going. So the only way or the only main way to know if you qualify for this is by submitting the free application for student aid, what we call the FAFSA. You'll see that the FAFSA is very important to not only qualify you for federal money like the Pell Grant, state money like North Carolina grants, it could potentially help you qualify for other institutional grants as well. But in terms of the Next NC, submitting the FAFSA is the only thing you have to do. You don't have to do an extra application process either. So make sure, if you haven't already, studentaid.gov is where you submit the FAFSA, the free application for student aid, and it is open now. So if you are a senior and you're a parent of a senior and you're already applying to these colleges, the FAFSA is open now for you to go ahead and fill out. So studentaid.gov. Most students could even potentially qualify for more than 3,000 or 5,000, depending on what your household income is. These are just the minimums that you would get if you qualify. We also, as a state, offer the NC 529 saving plan. So this is North Carolina's tax advantage saving and investment program. So you can save to cover education expenses for both college and K through 12. So if you're a parent of a K through 12 student, you could use this towards that as well. You save for yourself, your child, grandchild, any future student. Um, these funds can be used for college expenses like tuition, books, fees, room and board, computers. It could be used for trade school expenses, apprenticeship programs, K through 12 tuition if you go to private school. So many different things like this. So this NC 529 savings plan is a great tool to help you save for more than just college as well. We also offer something called forgivable education loans for service. So for these are loans, but they are forgivable if you work in specific critical employment shortage areas. So this is places like nursing, education, medical, allied health. So it's for students working in those professions, and it's administered by us. So you basically agree to accept this loan in order to go into that career field. The borrower, you, agrees to work in that approved position, or if you decide to leave, and this is important, if you decide that maybe you want to do a different career path, it is a loan. You'll have to repay the loan with interest right now at 7%. So if you do decide to stick with that career field, maybe it's the education field or the nursing field, for every year of full-time employment in that field that you agreed to, one academic year of these loans are forgiven. It is open to undergraduate students, but at the bachelor's degree level only, and for juniors and seniors. So not for first year students. This is something to think about for in the future. Sophomores, if their program of study applies to this, could also potentially apply. And last year, over $29 million of forgivable loans were canceled through service. So students are taking out these loans and they are being forgiven if they continue with that career field. But we always say it's a loan. If you decide to go into a different career field, once again, you will have to repay that eventually. And this is another loan, the NC Assist loan. So it's an educational loan that helps bridge the gap between the cost of attendance and other financial aid, which is kind of what we're saying with gap funding, and we'll get in a little bit into that as well. It has a fixed rate, has no origination, application, or other fees like that. So if you are interested in the NC Assist loan and looking more into that, you can go to ncassist.cfnc.org. And once again, we want to caution and say when taking out loans like this, only borrow what you need. In terms of gap funding, it could be very helpful if you're looking for ways to cover that gap that you still have to pay, but proceed with caution. So now we're going to go a little bit into the federal side of things. So that was all the different scholarships that you could qualify for as a North Carolina resident. But in terms of federal financial aid, once again, submitting the FAFSA at studentaid.gov is very, very important because this is what will help you qualify for a good chunk of federal financial aid. So if you have questions about the FAFSA, definitely let us know. So with federal financial aid, basically we like to split up into different types, right? So you have Pell Grants, and Pell Grants are solely need-based money. So depending on what your household income is, you could potentially qualify or not qualify for Pell Grants. There's federal work study. Once again, this is offered at the federal level through the college. So you could potentially qualify for a federal work study job on campus, get work experience, and also have that pay for some of your costs. And then once again, there are loans at the federal level as well. And if you ever see these on your award letters, when you receive those award letters, you'll see subsidized loans, unsubsidized loans. You have an option of a parent plus loan. Please talk to the financial aid offices. Whenever you are receiving an award letter and you see a Pell Grant on there, you see that you qualify for work study, or you see that you're getting offered these loans, please reach out to the financial aid office. Ask them, like, what's the difference between subsidized or unsubsidized? And it's a matter of when the interest starts accruing, right? But the financial aid offices are the best ones to go to for this type of questions. And the application method, once again, for all of these is the free application for federal student aid, known as the FAFSA. We're pounding that in you. Submit the FAFSA if you can. So there are also education tax credits. This is getting a little into the weeds, but there are two types of education tax credits. There's the American Opportunity Tax Credit for $2,500 a year for a child up to 4 years, or the Lifetime Learning Credit. With the application method, this is a deduction on your tax return, so you'd have to include a Schedule 3, 1040, and different tax information like that. So remember and keep in mind that you cannot claim both tax credits in a given year. So if you look at that chart at that bottom, feel free to take a picture of this link or copy and paste it into your browser. It's from the IRS. It kind of shows you which credit option is right for you and if you could potentially qualify for this. But with claiming the benefit, you'll deduct the credit on your tax return. So it does require those extra forms. There are also ROTC college programs for students who are interested in potentially going into the military or some form of service. So it's called ROTC, as many people probably recognize it. It is the Reserve Officers Training Corps, and it's offered at many different places. So it's offered at more than 1,700 colleges and universities. Participants who commit to service in the military after graduation receive a scholarship that could cover college education costs. So if the military is something you're interested in going to, definitely look into ROTC. Each service branch has its own kind of take on ROTC, so there are a lot of different options for you. Not all universities do offer this, so as you're interested in applying to different places and you're interested in a program like this, definitely ask them if they have an ROTC program. Some places that may not offer it may have an agreement with another university that does offer it. So that's very important if you're interested in this. Um, Staying with the theme of military, right? There are GI Bill education benefits. So parents and adults who are active duty service members, member of the National Guard or Reserve, or are a veteran, may be eligible for these VA education benefits like this. So it can cover 36 to 48 months of education benefits and up to 36 months of an unused GI Bill education benefit can be transferred to a spouse or a dependent child. So if you're a parent who has these benefits left, you can pass this on to your child, and it covers a good amount of tuition and books and different fees like that. So you will need to check with the Veterans Administration on your eligibility for this if this applies to you. This is a great program that really could help out families of veterans or active duty. And each college and university usually has somebody who works with the VA. So as you're applying to different places and this applies to you, definitely ask that college university to speak to the VA rep if they have one. So moving on to college-based financial aid. So we talked about state aid that you could potentially qualify for and apply for as a North Carolina resident. We talked about the federal aid options that are there for you. Now we're going to talk about specifically college-based financial aid and what colleges are able to offer for students, because colleges themselves offer their own institutional scholarships. Some of these you'll have to apply for. Some of them will be based on what your FAFSA says. So once again, complete that FAFSA. And then others could be like in the form of athletic scholarships or club scholarships. So something that's very interesting. Colleges and universities are actually the largest source of grants and scholarships that are awarded to students annually. So the source here is College Board from 2024. And as you can see over here to the right, 52% of all the grants and scholarships that were awarded to students and all the money that was awarded to students in America, 52% of that was offered by the colleges themselves. So that is very important to keep in mind. So as I said, some of these scholarships could be separate applications. So as you're applying to these colleges, ask the financial aid offices, what scholarships could I already qualify for by submitting the FAFSA? What do I have to apply for? That's very important. The financial aid office, a lot of times, have the money that they want to give to you, so it cannot hurt to ask. That's very important. And in terms of gap funding, so once again, let's say that you have your total cost of attendance, you have used all of your financial aid options, you've received state aid, or maybe you don't qualify for state aid, you don't qualify for some federal aid, you've applied to different scholarships, they've been applied to your award letter, and there is still something left that you're looking at. This is where gap funding can come into play to help you cover that balance. So, one of the things that we recommend first is looking at community scholarships and starting locally. So, we previously hosted a webinar focused on scholarships. If you haven't seen that one already, it was very well attended. It is on our YouTube account. So, it's CFNC YouTube account talking about finding and applying for scholarships. But for now, know that local scholarships are usually what we recommend to start out with because you are not competing with those big time federal or national scholarships, right? So these big time ones offered across the country, you have a lot of competition. Local ones, really the only competition are people in your community. Some of these have very lower prices, right? Like maybe one is a scholarship for $500. Nothing crazy, not breaking the bank. However, they add up. The more that you apply for, the more that you receive, you'll see that number of your balance ticking down off your award letter. So apply to as many as you can. And we have a lot of different tools for you that you could do that. We have a tool ourselves, cfnc.org/scholarships. We have tons of scholarships that we list on there. They have scholarships that are based on your county, scholarships that are based on the major that you want to do. So tons of different ones that you could potentially apply for. There's also the North Carolina Community Foundation. It has a scholarship portal that has about 150 scholarships that they offer in North Carolina. So definitely look into that as well. You could look into community and civic organizations like a Rotary Club, maybe a church, some type of organization that you are affiliated with that offers scholarships. And local communities have an education foundation that provides support. There's local chapters and professional associations. So a lot of the times in your own community, in your county, you'll find a lot of maybe smaller scholarships that can add up and really help you with that gap funding. Apply, apply, apply. So there's also tuition or education assistance, right? And this definitely applies to many of our adult students, but it could still apply to students looking to get into college for the first time, right? So education assistance has become one of the top benefits that employers are looking at to incentivize their employees to work for them. So many employers offer these programs, and 50% or 56% years offered these benefits. So that is a lot, right? So the most common of this is going to be tuition reimbursement, that first bullet point. Tuition reimbursement is where the employee pays upfront. And then upon completion of the course, and you have to receive maybe an A or a B or a C in the course, upon successful completion, you as an employee will get paid for that course. So that is one of the most common that we see with employers. Another one is tuition assistance. So this is a very good one. We're hoping that more employers go in this direction. But some of them realize that students don't always have the money up front to pay for a course. So what they'll do is rather than the student getting reimbursed, the employer pays the tuition when you enroll in that course directly, and they'll pay the institution directly. So sometimes this is limited to a very small number of institutions. So that's why it's not as common. So if the employer has a specific relationship with a certain university, that's when it becomes kind of more widespread. But always ask your employer, wherever you work, ask your employer, do you offer any type of tuition reimbursement or tuition assistance? Some places might even offer student loan repayment assistance if you have already attended. Some might even offer a 529 savings plan deduction where you take some of your paycheck and you put it towards a 529 savings plan. So there are different options that can kind of help you as a working student. So something else that we want to highlight is college credit through examination. So you could potentially earn college credit through places like CLEP, C-L-E-P. So it's similar to how high school students do AP exams, right? So you will have to pay and there are ways to earn waivers, which we'll get into. But you pay for the exam for a subject that you feel strongly that you don't need to take an entry level college class for. Maybe it's intro to economics, maybe it's world history or something like that. There are tons of options offered through the CLEP at College Board. So clep.collegeboard.org. So take a picture of that. So it offers exams on a variety of subjects, and while the examinations are not free, you can take these prep classes through Modern States, which is the second bullet point right there. So they offer free preparation classes in order to take these CLEP exams and even AP exams. You can complete the coursework and practice questions usually at your own time online, and upon completion, you can earn a voucher to take the CLEP exam for free. So if you want to take Intro to College Writing, you could take a Modern States preparation class, complete it, earn a voucher, take that CLEP exam for free, place out of that college credit, right? So that is another way to save money. But another important thing to note, not all colleges and universities may accept CLEP credit or even AP credit, right? Or some places might only accept number five score on the AP exam. So make sure whatever college or university you're interested in that you are asking them what type of exam credits do they accept. Do they accept CLEP? Do they accept AP, IB, things like that? There are also public service programs, right? So things like AmeriCorps Vista. AmeriCorps Vista is a community service oriented organization through which individuals like you of any age can volunteer in many different career fields and projects. There is usually a 2-year service cap, and the education award equals the Pell Award for that year of service. So you could volunteer through AmeriCorps and receive some type of funding for that. Um, there is City Year that you could look into. There is the National Health Service Corps that offers both scholarships and loan repayment programs. So take a picture, take a screenshot of these different organizations, see if this is something that you could potentially be interested in. In terms of other sources, right? Because we always want to give you other sources. We have job readiness programs like Year Up in Charlotte. So look into that if that interests you. They offer free job training. You can earn an educational stipend through this. You can make progress towards a college degree at a participating community college, tuition free, and you have access to different internship opportunities. And we highly recommend different internships while you're taking college classes. So this is another great service you could potentially look into. So we like to have this saying, hidden savings, better outcomes. So this is best practices for you while you're in college to save some money, right? So really, it's just knowing yourself. Changing majors happens to a lot of people, right? About 1/3 of college students change their major, and I was one who really wanted to change my major as well. But sometimes when you change your major, even if you stay at the institution in which you're changing, you might have to take additional courses to meet that graduation requirement. So, a perfect example, I was a mass communications major, and say that I wanted to switch my major to English. I actually had a conversation with my advisor. I would have had to stay another full year because I wanted to change when I was like a junior and senior, of course. And I would have had to stay another year, so I decided not to. Um, Many students change their major freshman year, maybe even sophomore year, and it's usually not a problem. But one of the best ways that you can kind of know yourself and prepare for something like this um, is to complete a program like this that we offer. Complete on CFNC.org. different surveys and different examinations that you can take to kind of learn what career field you're interested in and what those majors offer. So if it's on cfnc.org, we have partnered with nccareers.org, which they're the experts on career and employment in North Carolina. So look into nccareers.org if you have that time and do some assessments, figure out what major your career field that you're interested in would best apply to, and go ahead and prepare ahead. So another best practice while you're taking college credits, um, taking 12 credits for most places is considered full time, right? So if you're taking 12 hours a semester, you'll hear that from a lot of places. That is what considers you a full-time student. However, that doesn't always mean that you'll graduate on time in 4 years. Many places require at least 120 credits to about 130 credits for you to actually receive a bachelor's degree. And if you just take 12 hours a semester for 4 years, you will not reach 120. So most students actually need to take 15 credit hours a semester. Or if you are, let's say you're a working student or you're an athlete, you have a busy schedule going on, we always recommend taking courses in the summer. That is something that I did as a student. I took classes during the summer in order to help me catch up because I realized I was not on track to graduate on time. So, taking courses in the summer, that is another option. But you will hear 12 credits a semester is full time, which is true. But once again, it may be more like 15 credit hours. And what that equals is usually 5 classes. Most classes you run into are going to be around 3 credit hours. So 12 credit hours usually equals 4 classes. 15 usually equals 5. So something else that you can really do to find the right fit is going on college scorecard. So this is collegescorecard.ed.gov. And with this, you can find schools near you. You can find out if most people graduate when they attend this school, and you can find out ones that offer a bachelor's degree, and you can really look into many interesting factors about the school you're interested in. For example, you can look at their graduation rate. You can look at the average annual cost for each student. That is different. So remember that every student's and family's financial situations are different. So whenever you see, oh, the average cost is this, that could be different for everybody, depending on your household income, depending on the scholarships that you personally have applied for and qualified for. So keep that in mind. You could also look at median earnings. So when a student graduates from this college, how much are these students making when they leave and getting employed? You can look at how many receive federal loans, or more importantly, have to take out federal loans in order to attend. How many are still in debt, and what is that median debt of students who graduate from that school? What is the typical loan payment like? So, College Scorecard, really a great way to kind of help you prepare financially if you're interested in those types of colleges, right? So you can also look at repayment rates. So it has all these types of different financial information, different facts about the college or university you're interested in. So now I appreciate you all listening to me ramble on for 40 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up too. So as I'm wrapping up, if you have any more questions about anything I said, please submit it through the Q&A and we'll see if we can get that answered in time for you. So once again, we went over the 3 main ways to pay for college, that being family funds, financial aid, and gap funding. So family funds, once again, you can see that the most popular way for family funds of paying for college is going to be either parent income and sometimes student income, or savings accounts, right? And then we looked at the different levels of financial aid, that being state, federal, and college-based funding, gap funding, which will kind of help you hopefully pay for the remaining balance if you do have a remaining balance. And what we like to do is we like to give kind of 3 steps for you in ways that you can start this paying process for college, right? So first, you assess what funds your family has, whether that's through income, wages, savings account. Complete the FAFSA in order to learn what financial aid you could qualify for, and then talk with your financial aid office at that institution to see if there are additional merit options that you can pursue. Um, And with the FAFSA form, something that I really do want to highlight is that the FAFSA is a tool for you to understand what you qualify for. So this is not meaning like if you submit the FAFSA, you receive what you could qualify for. You do not have to accept that aid. You don't have to take out the loans that you qualify for. It is totally up to you. The FAFSA is a tool to understand what you qualify for so you can help understand what you need to pay for college. And then look for different gap funding, right? Whether through scholarships or earned through local organizations and employer education benefits. Doing whatever you can to really um, find out what you can do to help cover that rest remaining balance. All right, so we are going to wrap up. I want to take some time to see if there are any questions in the Q&A, any questions that anybody else would like to um, ask and see if we can answer. So I'll just give a little bit of time for that. And Neftali, too, if you want to hop on, if you see anything, if you want to hop on and add something as well, that would be appreciated.
Yes, Tyler, thank you. The last thing I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of, and I want to put that link in the chat for everyone is we talked about one of the ways to save money is also upfront. And another way you can save money upfront is through college application fees. So October is the official kickoff of our Countdown to College campaign. And as part of it, in the third week of October, so this year will be October, um, you can check which colleges are participating in waiving their fees. So your student or yourself, if you're the student, you can apply to many North Carolina colleges for free during this month, during college application fee week. So I put the link in the chat. So make sure that you're checking out that page and checking which institutions are waiving their fees. There's also other ways to waive your fee for qualifying students, and that information is also on that page as well if the institution that you're interested in is not waiving. So make sure that you're checking that out. And then I also wanted to make sure everybody knew that for additional programming that we're going to be having throughout the year to help students and family know more about the process, those can be found on cfnc.org/events. So make sure you're going to our events page on CFNC to find that additional information.
Thank you, Naphtali. And I do see a couple questions coming in that I want to address. First of all, yes, we are going to email you the recording and the slides of this presentation. So we'll make sure that you have that. We'll be able to send that once this is all completed and once we have the transcript of everything. So we will get you those for sure, both the recording and the presentation slides. And the recording will be posted on YouTube, just like our others will. If you haven't seen the scholarship one, we had about an hour-long webinar, amazing questions and answers about how to find different scholarships. So look that up on our CFNC YouTube. I also see questions about credit hours, right? So like if your AP class or another college class credit gives you 4 credit hours. 4 credit hours usually can refer to, let's say, like a biology class that has a 3 credit hour main class. So the main class in most classes will be 3 credit hours, but there's also a 1 credit hour lab that you have to do as a part of it, right? So as you're taking classes that require labs like that, you might see 4 credit hours instead of 3. That's what it's referring to. Many places require a science lab. So if you take a biology class, if you take a chemistry class, those are typically going to be 4 credit hours, depending on where you go to. I also saw a question about if there's going to be live help with filling out the FAFSA. Yes, absolutely. As you're filling out the FAFSA from studentaid.gov, they have a FAFSA help number. They have a chat. Studentaid.gov, they have all the information you need for you to fill out your FAFSA. Another thing we recommend doing, a lot of financial aid offices at colleges and universities are more than happy to help with your FAFSA. They might even host you on campus to help you fill out the FAFSA, right? So don't be afraid to reach out to your admissions offices, your financial aid offices. They would absolutely be happy to help. So also, um, I want to mention too that we are offering our very next webinar, and I appreciate Neftali for mentioning this. It is actually going to be October 30th at 6 p.m., just like tonight. And this is a step-by-step guide on that newly released FAFSA. So if you have questions about the FAFSA, we are actually going to have somebody from Wake Forest University's financial aid office going over some of the slides of what you can expect as you fill out the FAFSA. So if you want to register for that, as Neftali mentioned, go on cfnc.org/events, and then you'll be able to register for that. But yeah, there's tons of help out there for you. And I want to mention this too. Somebody asked, how did you feel when you got your diploma? Amazing. It's one of the best feelings in the world. Mainly knowing that you accomplished something that is very hard for a lot of students, right? There's help out there for you. That's what we're here for too. Getting that diploma is one of the best feelings ever, and we want to make sure that we help you do that. So definitely reach out to us with any questions that you have. But that is pretty much our time for the night. Once again, I want to thank everybody for joining, everybody for asking questions. Once again, we will post this on the CFNC YouTube. We'll make sure to email this out to everybody. Thank you so much for joining. We are the North Carolina State Education Assistance Authority.